We see at the start of the movie that T'Challa, the king of Wakanda, is battling a life-threatening illness. A sickness for which Wakanda lacks a treatment. Shuri, her sister, is doing numerous tests at her lab to try and save her brother T'Challa's life. To enable her to create a potent fake herb. She then prepares a drink for T'Challa, saving his life in the process. Actually, Wakanda is now devoid of any herbs. Despite her best efforts, Shuri is unable to create that herb. She is now inquiring about her brother with her robot. T'Challa's condition is highly delicate, and saving him would be quite tough, according to the robot. Her brother's heartbeat is similarly descending at a consistent rate. After that, Ramonda, Shuri's mother, approaches her and tells her to stop doing all of this since it is useless. T'Challa is dead because he is no longer alive. Shuri and her mother Ramonda both start crying as soon as she says this. T'Challa's funeral is now over, and he is buried the next day, where the Wakandan populace formally bids their ruler T'Challa farewell. A year has passed since this began, where Wakanda went during this period when none of his kings or queens were present. Ramonda has been crowned Queen of Wakanda after a year, though, so that she can take care of Wakanda and replace T'Challa with her son. A sizable ship is then seen in the sea after that. Actually, the ship resembled a lab in Wakanda, where research on a hazardous metal is being conducted by some scientists. But after that, some soldiers arrive and start attacking and attempt to board the ship from every angle. These individuals came here specifically to steal the metal. But afterwards, Wakandan troops also arrived, attack those soldiers who are thieves. They make them prisoners and imprison them after they have killed them. After that, we observe that huge meetings are held in every nation on earth, in which Ramonda is also the name of the Queen of Wakanda. Here, Ramonda hears from the heads of all the nations in the world that the most hazardous metal in the world cannot be protected in your nation, Wakanda, because you are powerless to keep it safe. You give us all of your metal because of this. We'll safeguard it. Even so, you don't need to worry about it. Ramonda now responds that Wakanda has been preserving this metal for a very long time, and will keep doing so, because we are equal to everyone else. And the same thing we do when we give you the metal. Thus, this is not possible, because we are aware that you will utilize that metal to create lethal weapons, who will assist you in destroying the world. Ramonda then introduces every one of the soldiers there as soon as she says this, who came to steal the metal from the ship of Wakanda, who was incarcerated beside them by these individuals. She continues by saying that we all understand your thoughts. This is because Wakanda's king has passed away. Therefore, he is without a monarch or Black Panther to guard him. And now is an excellent opportunity to steal that metal. But let me remind you not to hold this false belief. Even though Wakanda no longer has a ruler, but his troops are still capable of defending their nation. She then cautions everyone in the world after stating this. She cautions them not to gaze at Wakanda or his metal even after this. The outcome won't be good at all, you'll see then. The sea scene is then presented once more after that, where some soldiers and officers can be seen. All of these soldiers and officers originated from an agency in America. In all the seas, they are searching for that metal. They also have a tool for finding that metal. They locate a location in the water using this device. They finally learn about this metal. Two cops then enter the water to view that metal. They are then attacked, nevertheless. And the aggressors are none other than the Namor city's warriors. Talokan is the name of Namor's capital city, which is also evident from Atlantis' name. All the American soldiers are now being killed by the Talokan population. Then, here, we also learn that thousands of years ago, when this metal descended from the sky to the earth, then it, along with Wakanda, plummeted into the Sea of Talokan. Consequently, this metal is not only with Wakanda but also with Talokan, which the American troops arrived to grab. But now that they have this metal, Talokan's men have also used it to create their own weapons. This metal also makes up the name and rod-shaped weapon that Namor utilizes. Ramonda takes her daughter Shuri to the riverbank there, the location of Ramonda's white dress fire, which she was donning as a result of the passing of her son T'Challa. She did this in order to express her sorrow over her son's passing. Wakandans actually believe that if we burn the white dress, the grief of the departed will go. Furthermore, we won't even recall it. Shuri did not burn her clothes since she did not believe in any of this. But in this instance, the mother and daughter both begin to cry in remembrance of T'Challa. Namor emerges from the river in the meantime. Then he introduces himself. Claims that I rule over Talokan City. I want to discuss T'Challa with you. About the error he committed. Considering that T'Challa has offered a hand of friendship to everyone. Wakanda is well known to the world. At that point, this metal is well known throughout the globe. And this metal is also present in Wakanda. Because of this, everyone wants this metal. The lives of my people are at jeopardy as a result. Considering that we also have this metal. Since the world has learned the truth about Wakanda, I think that you possess that metal. Since then, you have been sought for by everyone. Moreover, if the world learns of our reality. Additionally, we have that metal. The entire globe will then adhere to us. And they'll make life terrible for us. And they will learn about this sooner or later. Because Americans are in possession of a device that can locate this metal, an extremely intelligent American scientist created that device. My recommendation is that you join us right now. Both nations ought to band together and eradicate humanity. Because the planet was once devastated by Wakanda and Talokan. If we both end the planet simultaneously, that is not better. We shall be able to live in peace and tranquility after this is over. After learning of the world's annihilation. As a result of her irritation, Ramonda declined his offer. Declares our preference for peace. We don't want anything to be destroyed. We desire peace. Namor now feels it's alright if Wakanda doesn't encounter Talokan. But you'll need to provide that scientist to us. Who built the device to find this metal? That I can assassinate that scientist. Additionally, Americans don't visit us in search of metal. Namor now tells him a week to wait and promises to return in that time. Not by himself, but with his whole army. If you turn over the scientist to us by then we will realize Wakanda is our ally. However, if this does not occur, Wakanda and the entire world will be destroyed. Namor threatens and then departs from here. Ramonda then sends her general back to complete this mission. That she managed to contact the scientist in some way. The scientist behind the metal hunting device. The general then declares, I want to bring your daughter Shuri with me. Where Ramonda initially rejects it. Later decides to take Shuri, though. Then Shuri and the general get it to America. And locate that scientist in some way. Here they learn that the scientist is a college-bound 19-year-old female. Ironheart is her name. They start bringing her with them as soon as they find her. They later learn that the American people and the agency have been looking for them for a very long time. And they have consistently maintained a watch on Ironheart and Shuri. These three are now instructed to submit. To give themselves over to them, that is. Ironheart then appears in her former form, the scientist. She does this by donning her outfit and departing. Shuri and the general then get into her car and bike and drive off. They have now managed to leave the agency. But as they continue, Talokan soldiers open fire on them. As a result of Namor not sending these forces. In order to capture Ironheart and deliver him to Namor. Here, the general and Talokan men are engaged in intense combat. And make an effort to take Ironheart along. But in reaction, the general joins in on the battle and works to keep Ironheart alive. However, the bravery of Talokan's warriors allowed them to overpower the general. They then take Shuri to Namor in Talokan along with Ironheart. She tells Ramonda about all of this when the only general comes back. But when she hears this, she becomes really irate. She couldn't help them because she wasn't a general. She dismisses him from his generalship for this reason. Ramonda then visits the former general who was also a commander. He had formerly been employed by Wakanda. Ramonda thought that the commander had traveled to other nations. And no one else has any experience with how to get upset in a foreign nation. She can undoubtedly travel to Talokan and save Ironheart and her daughter Shuri. The commander gets the full story from Ramonda, where she requests that Shuri bring Ironheart back. The commander then immediately travels to Talokan and executes numerous soldiers there. They also restore Wakanda while saving Shuri and Ironheart. However, in this instance, we know that Shuri and Ironheart were with Namor. When Namor threatened to kill Ironheart, Shuri warned him repeatedly that it was not his fault. Nemur also told him everything throughout this time, commencing at the beginning. Currently, we are also aware of Nemur from the start. Nemur is 450 years old, as we learn. Whereas Nemur's parents were humans 450 years ago. Then, however, disease and poverty claimed the lives of everyone in Nemur's hamlet along with his parents, where everyone prays to their god together. Then God appears in their dreams and describes a flower to everyone, which was identical to that priceless, potent weed. The identical weed that Shuri was attempting to create in her laboratory. Nemur's parents and the entire town go into the river to collect the blossom after learning about it. Then sip its juice. But as soon as they consume it, their body and mind undergo a full transformation. The entire body has changed to a blue hue. They had almost no human features. However, as soon as this occurs, their powers significantly increase. But there was a problem. Once they changed into this state, these people could not remain on the ground. Then, since they can only survive in the water at this point, they jump in. Nemur was about to give birth at this moment, where he is born after some time. Additionally, Nemur's mother had previously used this flower. Nemur acquired all of these abilities as a result. But it was incredible that he could survive without water in the outside world as well. In addition to this, he had wings and pointed ears. But as he grew older, it eventually became necessary for his mother to pass away. His mother only had one request for him before she passed away. I want to see this world for the first time. And if I am unable to see it, I will be buried in my hometown. Nemur now transports his corpse to his village to carry out his mother's final request. However, when he arrives, he observes that others living outside the community are committing crimes against humanity, whom Nemur is also shot by. Nothing now happens to him in his presence. However, he massacres them all and sets the area on fire. Nemur only begins to despise those who live in the outer world after this particular day. He also presented Shuri with a bracelet after finishing his entire account. This was created using the potent plants of Talokan. But when he learns that Ironheart has been removed by Commander Shuri, additionally, he has slain a few of his own people. Then he explodes in rage at Wakanda. He then goes and directly attacks Wakanda. He completely ruins the city. Of course, a lot of Wakandans are slain in this. But Queen Ramonda is also murdered at the same time. But before passing away, he tells Ramonda that this attack was only a fleeting glimmer. I'll send out my entire army at some point. And I'll wipe out the entire nation of Wakanda. He then immediately departs with his army after saying this. After that, as soon as Shuri learns that my mother has passed away, she cries a lot. Nevertheless, to thwart Nemur and exact revenge on him, she resumes her work on the herbs. The plants that Nemur gave her are removed from the bracelet. He begins to put her under test, where she quickly learns that these are not common herbs, but they also possess all the abilities of strong plants. As soon as she learns, she combines the DNA of her brother T'Challa with all of these medicines. Finally, she creates that artificial herb after that. She also believes that when she drinks it, my parents will appear. She instead sees a deadly soldier instead of him, who is the one who informs Shuri that you lack your brother T'Challa's compassion and bravery. Like me, you are enraged and seeking retribution. You can never replace your brother, you just want your retribution. Shuri is irate as soon as she hears this. She possesses the abilities already as a result of those potent drugs. She transforms into the new Black Panther by using them and donning the Black Panther outfit. Ironheart makes a good case for herself in the lab in addition to this. This was really contemporary. They were both already aware of Nemur's vulnerability to heat. It's warm. She may therefore deteriorate if left in a hot environment or isolated from the water. She gathers her army and makes all these preparations, and immediately attacks Talokan in the Nemur city. Then, there is a huge brawl between Talokan and Wakanda. Nemur is brought aboard Shuri's large ship by Shuri, who arrives in her Black Panther outfit, where she had installed large heaters. This was emitting a lot of heat and fire. Nemur now becomes weak from the heat. However, because she was holding her weapon, a lethal metal rod in her hand, he uses it to help him destroy the entire ship. The ship is then on the verge of sinking. However, Shuri manages to land the ship in a desert. so that she could prevent Namor from going near the water and weakening him. Now that they are in the desert, Namor and Shuri start fighting in a very deadly way. Namor crosses Shuri's abdomen with his rod in the scene. Consequently, she is exceedingly frail. He then begins to return to the water after completing this, so that he can regain power. Shuri, however, scuttles her shattered ship before entering the ocean. She basically blasts everything away, where the fire that emerges is so intense that Namor loses strength. After that, she uses her weapon to assault Namor and threatens to take your life if you don't end this war. It would be wiser for you right now to give up, because if you don't put an end to the fighting, your people will perish alongside everyone else. He gives up in front of Shuri because he agrees with her. Now they join together, cease the fight among their people. Following that, they start to get along. Everything ran smoothly. Both nations' citizens were ecstatic. But in this case, we already know that Wakanda's guiding philosophy is that anyone hoping to become a king or queen must first demonstrate their worth. He needs to triumph in sword combat and display his bravery in front of his nation. I have the strength and potential to rule as king. Yes, he must accomplish all of this without the aid of any magical substance like that herb. Since Shuri will not become a queen, she must now succeed in this combat to establish her worth. However, it soon becomes apparent that Shuri has vanished and is not present. A strong and dangerous soldier was engaged in battle nearby. The new king of Wakanda would thus be this soldier. Let's examine Shuri now, who left this location and headed right to the commander, where he set fire to his white mourning robe in order to escape his mother and brother's pain. Because he is starting to believe in similar things now. She now introduces her son to Commander Shuri and explains to him that I secretly married your brother T'Challa. And T'Challa and I both have a child. Specifically, your brothers. Only Ramonda was aware of this. Afterward, you learn today, too. Here, the kid introduces himself to Shuri. It brings the story to a close.